Hey everyone, my name is Christoph Jakob. I'm a music composer for video games. Two quick updates before we dive into today's video. A couple of days ago, I released a remix of Deluge Dirge, which you of course all know from Salmon Run. I have actually been thinking about making a video where I break down how to write a piece of music in Omega 3 style and how to write a piece of music in Yoko and the Gold Bazooka style. If that's something you're interested in, please let me know in the comments below. And in case you missed it, Splash 2 is finally out. Please check it out, add it to your playlists, and if you want to go even a step further than that, you can also purchase it over on Bandcamp. You are free to use this music in your content, by the way, in your YouTube videos, in your streams, whatever you like. Just give me credit, please. With all that out of the way, let's jump into more multiplayer tunes. Today's video is about See Me Now, and why I think that it's one of the best multiplayer tracks of all time. Let's go! What a way to start this tune! Very hectical. The intro of See Me Now is fascinating for multiple reasons. The very first chord we hear is one of the juiciest and also one of my favorite kind of chords in all of music. The tune starts on an, at least implied, F major 7 sharp 11 chord. Yes, that's a pretty long name for a single chord. And it sounds like this. If you're struggling with more complex chord names like this, let me quickly break it down. It's an F chord, so an F major triad. Major chords generally tend to sound very bright, happy and uplifting. But I wouldn't call this intro any of that, to be honest. And that's where the two additional notes come into play. If you add a major 7 on top of a major triad, you get a much more dreamy and ethereal quality to the sound. And now let's talk about the most important, the most spicy note in this chord, the so-called sharp 11th. Typically, melodies tend to start on strong and stable notes, such as the root note or the 5th. But See Me Now actually starts on the sharp 11. It's technically a note that doesn't even belong there, but in the right context, just like here, these kinds of notes can turn an average sounding chord into something truly extraordinary. And the by far most common thing composers tend to do when they use this note is to resolve it up by half a step. The sharp 11 by itself is quite unstable and it feels like it wants to go somewhere. And here it also moves up half a step, just as expected. And because composers know that this just sounds amazing. The chord progression in the intro is actually quite straightforward. We're moving from F up to G up to A minor. And the next time we move from F to B flat before the second half of the intro begins. The second half of the intro is using what's called power chords. That is usually one of the very first things you learn when you pick up electric guitar, since they are easy to learn and they appear in pretty much all kinds of music. They are pretty versatile. The drums, which had been playing in halftime so far, are now progressing to play in normal time or standard time. To recap, halftime is when the drummer puts more space between the kick drum and the snare drum. And as a result, the perceived tempo of the entire tune changes. It feels slower. Or in this case here, since we started in halftime and we're moving to standard time, it feels like the tune is speeding up after only a few seconds. Very nice. What a crunchy and juicy guitar riff. And I'm a huge fan of the vocals. In a way, the main riff of See Me Now is actually super close to another riff that we already talked about in a previous video. And I'm of course talking about clickbait. I know it's been a while, but maybe you remember. The main focus of the guitar is the use of both the 7th and the major 3rd note, which is actually a bit of an unusual combination of notes. And honestly, I think this is exactly what gives Splatoon 3 and its soundtrack its own unique character. It's pretty much what separates it from the music of the previous 2 installments. A normal major scale doesn't even include the 7, but it includes the major 7. So what we have here is technically not even a major scale, but it's a so-called Mixolydian scale. Though it's essentially the same as a major scale, but instead of this major 7, we have a regular 7. That's all. So the tune starts on a C Mixolydian riff and then moves the exact same riff 3 half steps down to A. What a crunchy and juicy guitar riff. This second chord uses both the major and the minor 3rd though, so it's once again both and neither clearly major or minor. In a previous video I mentioned that the Splatoon composers love doing that, completely breaking through musical conventions. So I'm not too surprised to find it in this song as well. And guess what, it sounds absolutely incredible. Don't let your own music and general mindset be limited by music theory rules. They technically don't exist. Music theory is the attempt to put the combination of frequencies that we perceive into words. So you could say that it's a set of guidelines of what could work, but technically there are no rules. Oh, and by the way, if you're curious how the Squid Squad voice is done, I recommend this Twitter account here. Basically, you shift the male voice up, which should make the voice
sound something like this. Next, you have to shift the formant down. It kind of depends a little on your voice. For me, it would be roughly -5 to -6, which should make it sound something like this. And once you enable formant correction and put it to 100%,
your voice should sound something like Squid Squash. Somebody once told me, never gonna give you up. The more I see, the less I know, the more I'd like to let it go.
This chord progression is so good. We gotta talk about this climax section. After the verse section, if you can even call it that, the tune returns to playing the intro riff again. This time, it's not in halftime though, and it peaks in what is probably my favorite section in any of the multiplayer tracks in Splatoon 3 so far. This climax section is just so freaking good. I remember the very first time I heard it, I actually got goosebumps. It's rhythmically and melodically similar to what we've already heard in the tune, while both the guitars and the bass take a little detour, so to speak. We also get to hear some call and response going on here. That term is pretty much self-explanatory. The vocals are giving a melody, and a different instrument responds to it, either by repeating the exact same thing or by doing something that sounds similar. All of that combined is just 100% what I love so much about music and music composition. And I don't know if this is just me, but I'm getting absurdly strong Sonic vibes from this tune personally. Remove the vocals and this would pretty much fit perfectly into Metal Harbor from Sonic Adventure 2. What do you say? I also love the way the music sprints into the climax section. Usually you expect important or crucial moments in a piece of music to sound bombastic with a lot of impact directly on the beat. But instead, the climax section of See Me Now actually starts on an upbeat. So slightly earlier than we would expect. This is a rhythmic element that's commonly used in fast-paced video games such as racing games or Sonic games. There is also one chord in this final section here that once again doesn't really belong there. And that's exactly what makes it so unique and so great sounding. And I mean, we're kinda used to it by now, because Splatoon is probably one of the most creative video games of all time. But yeah, I'm talking about this. Wow. There's the sharp 11 again. And it's about to loop, I think. I love how the bass just descended. Yeah, this song is just amazing. Thanks for watching. Like this video and subscribe if you have not already. And like I said earlier, please let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to break down how to write a piece of music in Omega 3 or Yoko and the Gold Bazooka style. That being said, listen to Splash 2 now, and I'll see you next time.